சார் நீங்க மியூட்ல இருக்கீங்க.
Upanishad pronounces the reality is the topic. The Upanishad is the only pramanam to pronounce the reality. That's why the topic says Upanishad pronounces the reality. There is no other pramanam that can talk about the real. In the invocatory prayer, it is said Upanishadam Brahma, meaning the Brahman that is revealed by the study of the Upanishads. So, what is the reality that the Upanishad reveals? And to who does this Upanishad reveals the reality? This is the analysis here. What does the Upanishad reveal about the real? And to whom it reveals about the real? It reveals the reality to the one who is prepared. To one who is well prepared, it pronounces the reality. To the one who is not prepared, even if you are hearing it, it will not make any difference. So it may be, you may be hearing it, but because of lack of preparation, you may not understand what the Upanishad is saying. So Upanishad pronounces the reality because they are the only pramanam to talk about the reality. For nobody else can talk about the real. Why do we say Upanishad alone is the pramanam? Upanishad means Vedanta. Why do we say Vedanta alone is the pramanam to talk about the reality? Vedanta alone talks about the reality without objectifying the reality. Anybody talks about the reality, they make the real as an object. Upanishad alone talks about the reality without making it an object. Therefore, Upanishads alone are qualified to talk about the real. Why they do not objectify it? Because the moment you talk about the reality as an object, it ceases to be real. The longevity may be there, but it may not be real. The moment you talk about an object, the object is bound by time. Some are for a short period of time, some are for a long period of time. The longevity of time only differs. But it doesn't talk anything about, it doesn't convey anything about the reality. Therefore, Vedanta alone is qualified. Vedanta alone is the pramanam to talk about the reality. Upanishads, Vedanta is the pramanam because they do not objectify about they do not make reality an object. They do not make reality an experience. And everything you can understand only when it is made into an object, when it is made into an experience. For if it is not an object and if it is not an experience, you can never know anything. You can never understand anything. That is why most of the people, even religious experience, they call it as a mystical experience. So they have to, either you have to make it into an object, or if you make it into an object, you can experience it. So Upanishad pronounces the reality. In what angle it pronounces the reality? Number one, it says it cannot be objectified. Viditam, aviditam. Anyadeva tad viditadado, avididadadi, which we are going to study now. Viditam, aviditam, it's a Mahavakya. meaning it is not a subject matter of experience. Neither it is an object. Whereas everybody talks about in reality as an object, and it can be experienced, divine experience. In Vedanta, we say there is no such thing called divine experiencing, as though something as, what is opposite of divine experience? Non-divine experience. We don't, Upanishads, Vedanta doesn't talk this language at all. To understand this, a student is well prepared. To a well-prepared student, all this makes a lot of sense and he understands. Now, what did the student do to prepare? That also we saw. What did the student do to prepare? What is preparation? You have to prepare a meal. You have to cook a meal. Straight away, will you start cooking? You need preparation, correct? What are all the preparation? Whatever be the preparations. Everything requires a preparation. So when it comes to Vedantic study, what is the preparation? What is that preparation? The preparation is observation and analysis of the world and one's own self. It is analysis of the world and the analysis of one's own self. And this analysis, what does it make a person understand? It makes the person to understand everything is matter. Everything is matter. And what is the definition of matter? Yeah, so all this we have seen any number of times. What is the definition of matter? Matter means that it cannot be conscious of itself and it cannot be conscious of the surroundings is called matter. What is the definition of matter? It cannot be conscious of itself and it cannot be conscious of the surroundings. It's called matter. That's the definition of matter. That's why we say lifeless. What does life means? If life means awareness, if life means consciousness, matter means, are you able to follow? Matter means no life. And what does no life means? It will not be aware of itself and it will not be aware of the surroundings. Example, a dead body. It is not aware of itself, nor is it aware of the surroundings, isn't it? A dead body will never know whether rose garland or chapel garland. A dead body will never know whether the body is being garlanded with roses or hurled with abuses. You understand that, no? Little bit of hot, little heat or little cold, the body cannot take, isn't it? The body cannot take. The dead body is kept in the freezer box, isn't it? And the body doesn't protest at all. From the freezer box, it is taken into the furnace. And even when it enters into the furnace, it doesn't protest. Why? We call it is dead. Matter means dead. Matter means dead. Why? What is dead means? It has no life. What does life means? It cannot be aware of itself and it cannot be aware of the surroundings. You are aware of yourself and you are aware of the surroundings. Correct? Well, maybe quality may not be that great, but still there is something, isn't it? At least to an extent, if the mosquito sits, you are aware, no? Yeah, at least if the mosquito sits, there is an There is an awareness. So the conscious of you, self-conscious, and consciousness of the environment combined is called life. Matter means it doesn't have it. Now, what did the inquiry of the student now? He understood everything is matter. He understood everything is matter. Matter means it doesn't matter. Yeah. Matter nale, it doesn't matter. Leave it nothing. Because it is useless. It's dead. What is it that makes the dead one to be alive? That is the question. That is the preparation. Agama, Payanaha, Anityaha, all that is elementary preparation. That is not a very high philosophical state of, that's not a very high state. What is Agama, Payanaha, Anityaha? They come and go, they are impermanent, even this shall pass away. All this is elementary. But to understand the Upanishadic reality, what is the preparation that you have to understand? The student has gone through everything is matter. What is it that makes the matter to be? What is it that makes the matter to be alive? Per se, it has got no life. Per se, if it has got life means it can never die. But then it is dying. It means it is borrowing. It means consciousness, it is borrowing consciousness from somewhere. So it has understood. What is the preparation? I am the borrower. Who is the lender? I am the borrower. I am the borrower means the body, the mind, and intellect borrows. The five koshas borrows. The waking, dream, deep sleep borrows. Everything is borrowing. The question is, who is the lender? That's the question. For which the answer is Shrotrasya Shrotram. Shrotrasya Shrotram. And the beauty of this Upanishadic mantra is it doesn't use the word consciousness at all, but it implies consciousness. It doesn't say consciousness. It never used the word consciousness. We are unnecessarily using the word consciousness. The Upanishad says what? Ear of the ear, eye of the eye, prana of the prana. Why prana of the prana? Because general misunderstanding is it is prana that gives, prana life force is translated. That's why all species are called pranis. All species are called pranis because they all have prana. And when prana leaves, consciousness is gone, life is gone. Vedanta comes and says, no. For prana itself borrows consciousness from something else. Pranasya pranaha. So that is why he talks about pranasya pranaha. Shrotrasya shrotram, manaso manaha, pranasya pranaha, chakshusas chakshuhu. Shrotrasya shrotram, manaso mano, yat vachoga vachogu, sahu pranasya pranaha. So everything borrows. From what it borrows? From what it borrows? It is borrowed. Are you able to follow? From what it is borrowing? I am the borrower. Ella explain pannittingo. Now talk about the lender. No, who is the lender that is giving all this? Anya deva dadvididadado avididadadi is the definition of the. What is the definition of the borrower? What is the definition of the borrower? The body, the mind, the intellect, the five koshas, the waker, dreamer, deep sleeper. These are all the definitions of the borrower. Okay. Lender. Similarly, define the lender also. No, the Upanishad defines the lender also. And what is the definition of the lender? Anya devadat vididadado avididadati. Anya devat. It is a different kind of divine. Deva means divine, God. Anya means differently divine. Different. It is something that is entirely different. And what is it? Viditam, aviditam. We'll come to that later. So, Upanishad pronounces the reality in this manner to a student who is well prepared. To a well prepared student, Upanishad pronounces the reality. Preparation happens in stages. Preparations happens in stages. In the initial stage, get up and do something. When the person is not at all doing anything, the advice is get up and do something. When the person starts doing something, he is prepared at the first level. Something else will be told. This is how a person is gradually helped in preparation. What is the gradual preparation? Start examining your experiences. That is the preparation. Instead of examining the experience of others, yeah, examining the experiences of others is called, that is called gossip, isn't it? Examining the experience, you don't examine the experiences of others, you examine your own experiences. What is your own experience? What is examining your own experience means? What is it that you want? On what basis you decided this is what you want? What is the path to get it? And do you actually get it? After getting, what happens? The examination. This is what examination is all about. Don't ask me to repeat that. No, I just said it in a flow. Or slow flow. Don't Srikanth repeat பண்ணுங்க சார் நானே மறந்துடுவேன். So what is examination? What is it that you want? On what basis you decided this is what you want? On what basis you decided that? Third, what is the path you are undertaking to get to that? Four, you get it. What happens to you after that is the examination. Beautifully, Mundokopanishad calls it as Pariksha Lokan Karmachidan Brahmano. Mundokopanishad talks about this Pariksha. Pariksha means examination, self-examination. Elsewhere, Swamiji says, nobody knows what they want. Because this examination is not at all done. What is it that it's so obvious, sir, what I want. When you are a child, balastavat, krida sakta. When you are a child, you want toys. It's very clear. When you are a teenager, clear. When you are a teenager, very obvious. What do you want? Somebody to keep chasing you, and you have to keep saying no, no, no. And when somebody keeps chasing you, what a joy it gives. Instead of you chasing, when you are chasing, it is very frustrating. And when somebody is chasing you, it is very Tarunastavat, Taruni Sakta. It's very, very obvious. This is what you want. Vriddhastavat, Intasakta. Idalla you do. Yeah, you do all that, you get, you don't get. Sometimes you get, sometimes you don't get. Sometimes whatever you get, you You put up with, adjust, compromise, I don't know, any word you can use. Yeah. And then vriddhastavat chintasakta. By the time you finish all this, you have understood that. What did you understand? Nothing has changed in you. Vriddhastavat chintasakta. Worry starts now. What is the worry? I have wasted my entire life. Now I don't know what's going to happen. Now I don't know what's going to happen. I think somewhere Raghu is here. Raghu is sitting somewhere here. Yeah. I'm sure he'll be sitting somewhere. I have only another active 10 years, sir. Vriddhastava Chintasakta has started. Yeah, that's the indication that I have only Raghu. Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's there. He's here. I have another 5 years of active life only. After that, what will happen? Dementia will start, this will start, that will start. What has already come into what has already started? Vriddhastavat Chintasakta. Because post-retirement plans have started. Parame Brahmani Popina Sakta. Nobody has time to think about the reality. Why you have no time to think about the reality at all? Because at any point in time, whatever you are caught up with, that you take it to be real. At any point of time, you are caught up with something. At any point of time, you are chasing something. So whatever you are caught up with, are you able to follow? Whatever you are caught up with, whatever you are chasing, you take that to be real. As a result of which, the question about what is real doesn't come at all. Because it is so real, sir. What is there to ask? What is real? Because what you are stuck with is itself is so real. What is Pariksha Lokan Karma Chitan, the preparation the person did? This is where some help comes. This is where he takes help. What is the help? Analysis have two methods. One is microscopic view, another is telescopic view. That is one method of analysis. Another method of analysis is horizontal and vertical. This is how you examine. Again, I repeat, there are two things for examination, two methods. Venkatachalam, don't ask where is all this in Kenopanishad. Kenopanishad doesn't say all this. Kenopanishad only says viditam, aviditam. That's all. Anyadeva dad vididadado, avididadadi. Kenopanishad doesn't say all this. We are elaborating on what he did to come to this point. Analysis. What is analysis? Two methods. Method number one, microscopic, telescopic. Microscopic means break it up into parts, minutest, or see as far as you can. That is telescopic view and microscopic view. So you look at life microscopic, you look at life telescopic. Another way of analysis is vertical, horizontal. Vertical means in your own lifetime, what is it? Horizontal means what does it matter in the totality? These are the two methods, horizontal and vertical. One person falling sick of 9 billion. I don't know. What is the population? 8 billion. 8 billion and some change. That is the population. So, out of 8 billion, one person fallen sick. What difference does it make? Are you able to follow? This is analyzing it in the totality view. In your own lifetime, how many times you have fallen sick? This is considering your own life. So when you analyze it with this telescopic, microscopic view or horizontal and vertical view, you come to an understanding. What is understanding? You are disturbed, you chase something to find freedom from the disturbance. It appears to be giving you freedom from the disturbance only to leave you more disturbed. This is the preparation. Are you able to follow? At any point of time, you think not having it is the cause for disturbance. Having it will give you the freedom. So you get it. After getting it, what happens? There is a temporary, when you get it, there is a temporary satisfaction. That temporary satisfaction deludes you into not understanding the reality. What is it? It's going to leave you with greater disturbance. How does it leave you with greater disturbance? Because to get it again, it's hard work, no? It leaves. But then to go all the way up is the pain. All this the student understands with reference to one's own life and in the life of others. Examining the life of others and examining one's own life, a person comes to an understanding. What is it? All this has no value. On what basis he says all this has no value? Because what I am seeking is something different. Something has a value or no value only in relation to your seeking. Are you able to follow that? It has a value or it has a no value only in relation to your seeking. So he understood that all that the world offers is of no value because what he is seeking, the world cannot provide. This is level number 1 pariksha. And what is level number 2 pariksha? What is this world made up of? Upanishad starts there. What is this world made up of? What is this world made up of? The 5 elements in the various nama rupa. Nothing but the 5 elements in various names, in various forms. Contest for the world's beautiful person and the contest for the world's ugliest person. You know both the context happens. There is the contest for the most beautiful person that we know, isn't it? And then there is the contest for the world's ugliest person also. So you understand what somebody sees as ugly, somebody sees as beauty. What somebody sees as beauty, somebody sees as ugly. It means everything is the nama rupa permutation combination only. What is it in essence? It is. What is it in essence? Matter. In essence, they are all matter. And matter means dead. Matter means dead. And how can dead appear to be? How can that dead appear to be alive? You are feeling, you are experiencing that you are alive. And you are also experiencing something around you is also alive. And you are also experiencing something around you is not alive. How do you, what is it that is lending life to matter? So what is the preparation of the Upanishad student? He has come to the conclusion that it is all matter and something that is enlivening it. That's where the question that he asked is, Kineshitam patati preshitam manaha Kena prana pratama praitiyuktaha keneshitam vachamimam vadanti chakshushrotram kahu devo yunatti. He used the word deva. Since he used the word deva, the answer is in the form of in the word deva. So the word that he used in the question is deva. Deva means something different from the matter has to lend consciousness to the matter. What is it? What is it? First answer we saw. Shrotrasya Shrotram. Shrotrasya Shrotram. We saw that. Also we saw in order to understand this answer, you need a preparation. And what is the preparation? That also we saw in brief. Because if I go into the preparation and details, we can't study Upanishads. We have to go back to Atma Bodha. We have to start Atma Bodha again. Because Atma Bodha talks about the entire Atma Bodha is the right from the sadhana, chatushtaya, sampath, and all that it will start. So what is the assumption here? What is the assumption here? Having studied and understood and practiced whatever is said in the Atma Bodha, we are able to comprehend what the Upanishad is saying. Hope. Though we all know that it is not at all happening, though we all know that no way it is happening, but we assume. Now, what is the assumption here? The Upanishad pronounces the reality. What is the question that the student asked? What is that Deva? What is the divine thing? And why he calls it as divine? Why he calls it as divine? Why divine? In the context you should say, yeah? Why divine? Because he is the lender, isn't it? Banks are divine. Banker is divine. Why banker is divine? Why banker is divine? Shankar. Yeah. Mandali will stand up, isn't it? We will stand up. Yeah, we will stand on the head also. If he asks us to stand on the head, we will stand on the head and we will do. What all that fellow asks us to do, we will do. Why? Why? Because he is the divine, higher. Deva means higher, divine. Why? Because they are the lender. Question is, who is that? Who is that lender? For which the first answer. What is the answer? Shrotrasya Shrotram. Ear of the ear. Capital E, small e. What is ear of the ear means? Up to this we saw last week. E, capital E, small e. So the small e borrows from the capital E. Or if you start from the small e and work backwards, where will you end? You will end in the consciousness. Therefore, you got to work through the instruments, work backwards through the instruments till you hit the consciousness. The moment why he says Kaudevo, Yunatti and all that, ear of the ear, Shrotasya, Shrotram and all that is because if he has said consciousness is that which enlivens, immediately the next question that you will ask is, what is the next question you will ask? It is conscious. If the answer is given, it is consciousness. What will you ask? How to experience that consciousness, sir? Now, how can you experience the consciousness when you are already that? When you are already that, how can you? So, Upanishad takes that height and speaks. So, he says, Shrotrasya. He didn't use the word consciousness. He simply said, ear of the ear. He didn't say consciousness. We are the one who are interpreting it as consciousness. And what is the nature of that consciousness? What is the nature of consciousness? Swayam prakashate atma. It doesn't borrow from, it doesn't borrow. Moonlight versus sunlight. Moon also has light, but the light of the moon is borrowed. The sun has its own Swayam prakashate. So, what is the nature of consciousness? Self. It is self-awareness, and it cannot become, and it will never become an object of experience. It will never become an object of experience. Why? Because it is the ever subject. Matter is the ever object. And Brahman is the permanent subject. Is Brahman. Permanent object is the matter. How do you say Brahman is the ever subject, permanent subject? Because when consciousness becomes an object, who is experiencing it? Consciousness. So it means consciousness experiencing. Consciousness experiencing consciousness has no, doesn't make any sense. When we say consciousness experiencing consciousness means it is consciousness alone. Able to follow? It is not consciousness experiencing consciousness. It is consciousness alone. Consciousness alone exists. That is the real subject. And that subject is never a matter of object. Therefore, you can never ask this question. What is the question that you can never ask? How to experience? How to experience God? You can never ask. Why? The moment you experience it, any experience brings in duality. Any experience brings in duality. What is the duality? The duality of subject-object relationship. So, year of the year says, all that is experienced is the object. The world is the object, you are the subject at one level. At another level, you yourself becomes the object and Brahman is the subject. Shrotrasya Shrotram means you yourself, what all you think as the subject, itself is the object. To put it very simply, in all experiences of life, you think you are the subject, right? You are the subject and world is the object. What is Upanishad saying? What you think as subject itself is the object. There nothing we are able to comprehend. Don't worry. We will come back to Atmabodha and then thesis on God. We will do Atmabodha and then come back to thesis on God again. Therefore, the question. What is it? What is the nature of that consciousness? What is the nature of that consciousness? How can you define that consciousness? Swayam prakashate. Swayam prakashate means it can light itself and lend a light to others. That is Swayam prakashate. It is ever conscious and it can lend consciousness to others. Shrotrasya Shrotram. All this comes under every 15 minutes or chanting break வைக்கறாங்க இல்லையா இந்த மாதிரி புக்ல சாண்டிங் பிரேக்கே இல்லையா? You don't know where to take a break. அதனால I myself take a break. What is the nature of that consciousness? It light itself and it can light everything else. That is called Swayam Prakashate. But how do I actually, idallam okay sir, but it doesn't make me understand. This Swayam Prakashate and all doesn't make me, okay, all that is fine, but it doesn't really make me actually know what it is. So tell me actually what it is. Are you able to follow? Swayam Prakashate, all this is perfect, nalla irukudhu kekkuradhukku, but still something is missing. Still something is missing. Adiyum sollidunga. What is that is missing? Next mantra. Viditam, aviditam. That's the connection. Are you able to follow? The connection kondu varthukkulliye it took so much of Anyadeva tad vididadado avididadati. Iti sushruma, that's a complete mantra. Iti sushruma purvesham enas tadvyacha chakshire. Iti sushruma purvesham means this is how it has been taught in the ancient days. Upanishad itself is very ancient. Yeah, they themselves are very ancient and they are saying this is how it is taught in the ancient days. Purvesham. This is how they are taught. Therefore, the pramanam is established. What is the pramanam? What is authority for? What is authority? The Purvesham is the authority. Purvesham means Upanishad, the Vedas, Vedanta, Upanishads is the authority. That's how we started by saying Upanishads, Vedanta is the only pramanam to talk about this. Why? Because all this Swayam Prakashate, Sakshi, all that is very fine, sir, but something is still missing. When you say something is still missing, what are you asking? This kind of objectification is not helping us to understand Brahman. This kind of objectification like Sakshi, Swayam Prakashate and all is not helping us. Give us something that is experienceable. Give us something that is understandable. Give us that. Idalla vana. That's what the student is asking. The guru understands that. And then he answers that. What is that? That Deva that is lending, the question that he asked is Deva. Anya Devat. That Deva that you are asking, oh dear student, it is Viditam, Aviditam. It is known, it is unknown. Other than the known and the unknown. It is known, it is unknown, it is other than the known and the unknown. This statement, we give the status of Mahavakya. Every Upanishad has Mahavakyas. Upanishads has lot of Mahavakyas. For understanding purposes, we say there are 4 Mahavakyas. But don't think Mahavakyas means only that 4. Anyadeva dad vididadado avididadadi is the Mahavakya. That's why in English we translated it as the quintessential definition. If you read the book, now we'll go to the, now you open the book. He says, the Upanishad further elucidates the concept of God with the quintessential definition. What does that quintessential definition means? It's a Mahavakya. Quintessential means Mahavakya. It has the status of the Mahavakya. Now, we can't say it has the status. It is Mahavakya. Why? Because no scriptural literature has spoken about reality in this language. Mundakopanishad calls this as para and apara. Mundakopanishad calls it as para and apara. Yagyavalkya tells Maitreyi, Swayam Prakashate. All beautiful way, extraordinary way of presenting the reality, God. What is it here? That indeed is other than the known and the unknown. So there is known, there is unknown, and then there is the unknowable. Okay. So there are three words. There is the known, and then there is the unknown, and then there is the unknowable. Unknowable to the body, mind, intellect. Unknowable because you don't have the instrument with which you can know it, neither you have the instrument with which you can understand it. I'll give a simple example. You tell a person, bring the blue color chair. From the hall, bring the blue color chair. That's the knowledge. What is the knowledge? What color person? Blue color. Okay, simply blue color I said. Symbolism lang கிடையாது இதுக்கு சும்மா அப்படியே வந்துருது வாயில அவ்வளவுதான். Why did you say blue color, sir? Any special reason? எல்லாம் ஸ்பெஷல் ரீசன்லாம் கிடையாது. அப்படியே impulsively it came. Blue color, get the blue color chair. For you to understand and bring the right chair, what is required? What is required for you to understand and bring the chair? What is required?
Knowledge of the color.
You need to know what chair is, the knowledge of the color, and the right instrument. Instrument you have, but you don't have the knowledge. It is useless. You have the knowledge, but you don't have the eyes. Again, it is useless. Are you able to follow? So it means you need to have the knowledge and then the appropriate instrument. The unknowable here means you don't have any appropriate instrument. How can I teach you? You don't have that appropriate instrument. How can I teach you? For all that you are asking is to know through the instruments. All your experiences happens through the instruments only. And if it doesn't happen through your instruments, you can never know it. Therefore, the mistake that you make is you want to bring God also into the purview of the experience through an instrument. Upanishad says it's unknowable. Unknowable means, what is the definition of unknowable? You don't have the appropriate. There is no word by which it can be said, this is the knowledge. Also, you don't have the appropriate instrument. The word is also not there. The knowledge is also not there. The instrument is also not there. Then how can I teach you? But it is taught. How is it taught? It is taught. Are you able to follow? By saying, how can I teach you? It is taught. How? The instruments are negated. All knowledges are negated. So all knowledges are negated. All instruments are negated. By negating all knowledges and all instruments, it is taught. What? That indeed is other than the known and the unknown. ஒன்னும் புரியல ஸ்ரீகாந்த். Nothing is going there. நீங்களும் பேசினே இருக்கிறீங்க. Nothing is going in. That indeed is other than the known and that indeed is other than the known and the unknown. Okay. that which indeed is other than the known and the unknown, we will leave it for a while. We will start with known and unknown. Everyone follow? We will start with known and then the unknown, and then we will see that which is different from the known and the unknown. Straight away, what is that? Now it is very, what is that unknowable? It's difficult to understand. So we are connecting it like this. What is the connection we are making now? Let us start with what is known and what is unknown. The viditam, aviditam, we will discuss. That indeed is other than these two. Temporary choice neutral. Yeah. Temporary, we will keep that aside. That which indeed is other than the known and the unknown, which is what the reality is, that we will keep it aside. We will analyze what is known and what is unknown. And then he helps us by analyzing the known and the viditam, aviditam. He is helping us to analyze these two at various levels. So we will start that. Are you okay till now? Srotrasya Srotram length. Sorry, preparation. We started with preparation and then we came into Srotrasya Srotram and then we linked it to known and the unknown. That which indeed is different from the known and the unknown is the unknowable, and that unknowable is that which is incomprehensible. Therefore, we will start with known and unknown. This is 7:45. Yeah, you could have told this at 7:45 itself, and we could have unnecessarily 1 hour went away. What is the first? A simple explanation of known and unknown. What is the simple practical elaboration? He says, something you know, something you don't know in life, always. You can never know everything in life. Correct? You can never know everything. Nowadays, one subject you can never know. Yeah. Forget about knowing 2 subjects. In 1 subject itself, by the time you sit and think and find out something and then say, oh, this I heard 30 years back, sir. Yeah. It means something is known, something is unknown. Life covers areas of your knowledge as well as your ignorance. The first interpretation. Known means that which is known to you. Known means that which is known to you. Unknown means that which is not known. Ignorance. So life covers the area of knowledge and ignorance. The known realm covers everything. The unknown realm, what you do not know. But you equally affirm that I know it, I do not know it. You say, I know your name. You say, I do not know your grandfather's name. Remember that example? You say, I know your name. You say, I do not know your grandfather's name. How sure are you that you know my name? 100% sure. How sure are you that you do not know my grandfather's name? Again, 100% sure. The knowing principle with which you are aware of what you know and what you do not know. You are conscious of your knowledge. You are conscious of your ignorance. The consciousness which illumines your knowledge illumines your ignorance as well. That consciousness that illumines your knowledge and ignorance is called God, Brahman. That indeed is other than the known and the unknown. First, a simple explanation. And the second and third is the classic Vedantic style of interpretation. What is the classic Vedantic style of analysis and understanding anything? A microcosmic analysis and a macrocosmic analysis. So, Vedantic method of analysis is always of two, the microcosmic analysis and the macrocosmic analysis. Microcosmic analysis means taking an individual and analyzing. Macrocosmic means taking the entire world as a subject matter of analysis. So the first interpretation is a practical interpretation. What is a practical interpretation? The first interpretation is very simple. Area of your ignorance and area of your knowledge. The second interpretation is the known and unknown in relation to the microcosm. The third interpretation is the known and the unknown in relation to the macrocosm. So from this, what do you understand? A method for which you have to analyze also. So first you take up a simple explanation. Don't start with complicated explanations from the, so take up a simple explanation and then go to microcosm and then go to macrocosm. Now we are doing the second interpretation of this viditam, aviditam at the microcosmic level. At the microcosmic level means the individual. At the microcosmic level itself, there are two, viditam and aviditam. What is viditam? The gross body and the subtle body is viditam, known. Actions, emotions, thoughts are known. This is viditam. Aviditam refers to the vasanas, the causal body which is not known. Again, in relation to the microcosm, what is viditam and what is aviditam? Viditam means known, aviditam means unknown. So in relation to the microcosm, what is known? The body is known and the respective actions are known. The gross body and the subtle body is known, meaning you know the gross body, you know the subtle body. What is the gross body? Or panchakoshas. Understand it like that. The panchakoshas, you know. The gross body, the annamaya kosha, the pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha. All this is known. Aviditam, anandamaya kosha. The vasanas is the causal body. The vasanas is unknown. The waking state is known, the dream state is known, the deep sleep state is not known. Correct? The waking state is known, the dream state is known, the deep sleep state is not known. How do you say that the deep sleep state is not known? You can never say, I am in deep sleep. You can say, I am the waker. You can say, I am the dreamer. But you will always say, I was the deep sleeper. Correct? Why? Because when you are in deep sleep, you cannot say, I am in deep sleep. If you say, I am in deep sleep, you are You are not in deep sleep. Correct? Therefore, the waking state is known, the dream state is known, the deep sleep state is unknown. So what is viditam? Gross body, subtle body is viditam. Causal body is aviditam. Waking state, dream state is viditam. What is aviditam? Deep sleep state. Perceptions, actions, emotion, thoughts are viditam. Vasanas are aviditam. So there are these two, viditam, aviditam. God is beyond these two. God is beyond the waking state, dream state, and deep sleep state. God is beyond the gross body, subtle body, causal body. God is beyond vasanas, the perceptions, actions, emotions, thoughts, vasanas. Anyadeva tad vididadado avididadati. That deva can be understood from the practical angle. That deva can be understood from the microcosmic angle. Now, how we want to understand the deva from the macrocosmic angle? Viditam is the pluralistic phenomena of the world is known. The pluralistic phenomena of the world is known. And what is aviditam? Unknown is that the substratum which supports it. The world is known. This is the beautiful interpretation. The world is known. The perishable world is supported by an imperishable entity. That imperishable entity that supports the world is aviditam. Carefully follow. Don't say the imperishable aspect of, don't say the imperishable that is supporting the world as Brahman. Don't say that, because that is aviditam. Why do we still call that as aviditam? Because you are able to conceive it. You are able to conceive that intellectually, you are able to conceive that there is something that is supporting it. Kutastha. There is something that is supporting it. You are able to intellectually conceive of it. The very fact that you have conceived of it means that also becomes viditam. So there is this viditam, and then there is this aviditam. God is beyond all intellectual conception, inexplicable, inconceivable. Therefore, God is indicated as beyond the known and the unknown. Third interpretation, we will do it again. Viditam means that which is the known perishable world. And you understand that all the perishable world has to be supported by that which is imperishable. Sutre, Manigana, Iva, and all that he said. When it comes to Upanishad, we say that is also. If you remember in the Gita, we studied recently. Sutre, Manigana, Iva. I am the string, that invisible string that holds everything together. So that pluralistic world is what you see. That pluralistic world that you see is held by that unseen string. The seen beads are the string. The seen viditam is the beads. The invisible string that is holding it are the aviditam. Upanishad says that is okay, but that we don't accept as God. Why? Because you are able to appreciate and nod your head. No. The fact that you are able to appreciate and nod your head, Nale, it's gone. It's gone. Aviditam. The moment you are able to appreciate, that's what such a beautiful explanation he is giving in Kenopanishad. The student would have nodded their head. Ah, correct, sir. Now I understand. Now I understand. Now I understand. Next chapter, he says, anybody shakes your head in saying, I understood, have not understood. Anybody who says, I understood, have not understood. What a statement. Because this viditam, aviditam, these kind of explanation, sutre, manigana, even all that makes you to nod the head and say, oh, today's class, I got something I got today. Yeah, viditam. Why? Because Anya Deva, that cannot be God. அப்படி ஒன்று இருக்குன்றதுக்கே what is the pramanam? Are you able to follow? There is something beyond viditam and aviditam is conceivable. What is the proof to say that there is something beyond viditam and aviditam? Iti sushruma purvesham yenas tadvyach chakshire. Iti sushruma purvesham. Iti sushruma purvesham means, what is the proof of it? My guru has said it. That is the proof. The guru has said it. That is the proof. What is the proof? Guru has said it. The eyes can tell you something. The mind can tell you something. The intellect can tell you something. The guru can tell you something. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Agami. Sources of knowledge. The eyes can tell you something. What the eyes can tell you, you don't need somebody else to come and corroborate it. What your mind can tell you, you don't need somebody to corroborate it. What the intellect, you don't need somebody. But here, what is the proof of Anyadevat tat vididadado avididadati? What is that? What is the proof of that viditam and aviditam? What is the third thing? Up to aviditam is very logical. God is the supporter of the world. God is the creator of the world. God will punish the bad and support the good. Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya chadushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. All that is viditam and aviditam is understandable, acceptable. And when he says that is not God, he says that is not God. That is not God. What is the proof? What is the pramanam for it? What is the pramanam for it? Iti sushruma purvesham. The pramanam is from the past. Past means the past enlightened masters have said so. Therefore, Pratyaksha is a separate pramanam. Pratyaksha is a separate pramanam. Anumanam is a separate pramanam. Upamanam is a separate pramanam. Distinct and different from all these pramanams is Shastra pramanam. Using Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, you can understand about the world. And the world is viditam, aviditam. Using these three pramanams of, what are the pramanams? I'm just using the Sanskrit word because I'm assuming that you all know the Sanskrit words by now. Yeah. Dictionary, Mari, I'm not translating it into English simultaneously also, isn't it? Yeah. The Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana pramanams teaches you everything about the world and which falls under viditam, aviditam. That is where science accepts these two. Science accepts viditam and aviditam is acceptable by the science. Why? Because what is not known yesterday is known today. What is not known today will be known tomorrow. Therefore, a time will come where everything will be known. A time will come. Just wait, sir. Yeah, just wait. So then artificial intelligence vandirukrom. Yeah, a few more years into artificial intelligence, we will know everything. Yeah. Poor artificial intelligence will wait for it, somebody to plug it, no? Poor artificial intelligence cannot do anything by itself unless somebody plug, or if it can go and plug itself. If it can go and plug itself, it is no more artificial. It's a conscious entity. Viditam, aviditam, all that science accepts in the realm of the known and the unknown. Vedanta comes and says, beyond the known, beyond the unknown is indeed the reality. What is the pramanam for it? Vedanta, Shastra is the pramanam for it. But how can I trust that? How can I trust that? Ya pashyati sa pashyati. How can I trust that? Isn't it blind faith, sir? Isn't it blind faith? How can I trust the Shastra? How can I trust them? Maybe they are lying. The student has gone through all this. The student has passed all that long back. He has passed all these tests long back and coming and asking this question. To that person, this answer is given. Our problem is if we say Shastram is the Pramanam, we will say no, no, no. How can we accept Shastra as the Pramanam? Because there is a lot of fault in it, no? There are a lot of wrong things also in that, no, sir? Therefore, how can we accept it as a Pramanam? Your eyes have optical illusion, no? Sometimes you see things that is not there, correct? Sometimes you don't see that which is there. Sometimes you see that which is not there, optical illusion. Will you stop taking your eyes as the Pramanam because of this factor? If you do that, who's the loser? You are the loser. Are you able to follow? Similarly, certain things that the Shastra says may not be understandable. Instead of calling it as wrong, instead of ignoring it, neglecting it, calling it as wrong, or wanting to correct it, what do? The eyes are correct pandra mari, let us correct the Shastras also, sir. That's the trend, no? Everybody wants to correct the Shastra. Here we don't touch that at all. Here we don't touch it. Why? Because as it is, it is. As it is perfect. As it is complete. All that you need to know is what? Mundakopanishad said beautifully. Pariksha lokan karmasitan brahmano samitpani shrotriyam brahmanishtam. Approach it reverentially, question it reverentially, and it reveals. Approach it reverentially, question it reverentially, it will answer all your questions and it will reveal the reality. And what is the reality that it will reveal? Anyadeva dad vididadado avididadadi is the reality which will be revealed. Therefore, the topic Upanishad pronounces the reality. Are you able to follow? Upanishad pronounces the reality. Very beautiful. Viditam and aviditam. With this, we conclude this and we'll move on to the beyond the opposites in the next class. And then we'll move on to the, we finish this chapter. Upanishad pronounces the reality topic is over. We'll continue with beyond the opposites in the next session. Clarifications and all we will take up. If any clarification wanting me to repeat something, I will repeat. Or any general questions or anything out of it, what we discussed, we will take it up in the next session. Not to.
Venkatachalam has a clarification with regards to the topic taken.
Yeah. Yes.
When we talk about our awareness, we see that we see because of the Brahman in me, we hear because of Brahman in me, all our perceptions are because of Brahman in me, because our mind and intellect being equipment enabled or has a reflected consciousness. So it is consciousness actually enabling all the perceptions.
Yes.
So my question is that so when it comes to defining what is it that we are looking for, it is a knowing principle
Yes.
rather than any pairs of opposite, not knowledge versus ignorance
Correct.
or any pairs of opposite, only knowing principle.
Yes. Correct. We are in. The question is, what is that knowing principle by which all this is known?
Yes.
Consciousness is the knowing principle. What is the knowing principle by which this viditam, aviditam is hereafter? That is the question. What is it that
That's the
makes the eyes to see means what is it that is making the eyes to know it?
Nice to know it.
What is it that is making the mind to know? What is it that is making the intellect to know? It is knowing. Consciousness, awareness, knowledge are all synonyms.
So when all the perceptions happen, I wrongly attribute the perception to my mind
Yes.
or to my ego,
Yes.
and conveniently I forget
Yes.
it is a consciousness
Yes.
that is.
Correct. Correct. Because of
Thank you.
the subject is misunderstood.
Subject is misunderstood.
Subject is misunderstood. The mind intellect combination or the ego is misunderstood as the subject.
Correct.
There Vedanta comes and says that this ego itself is the object.
Object.
The
So-
ego itself becomes object.
At one level, it appears to be such a simple explanation, but I seem to be so much stuck. That's amazing.
Because we all get stuck. Intellect has to get stuck because intellect can understand anything in the realm of experience only. Intellect can understand only by objectifying it. Intellect can understand only when it can be experienced. Now, when we say the true subject can never be experienced, the question is, we will be stuck only. It's natural. And it is nice to be stuck at this level for some time. Yeah. Mumukshatva will develop out of this.
So it is a
Mumukshatva will come out of-
subjectless.
Yes.
So it is a subjectless awareness
Yes.
that has a knowing principle.
Correct. 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 Now you are talking like J. Krishnamurti. Yeah. Correct. He
Thank
said
you.
it.
Thank you, sir.
Objectless awareness. He said it. An awareness which doesn't require an object, which means it knows itself by itself. How do you know that you are alive? I am a married person, sir. Therefore, I know I am alive. Why? Because will anybody marry a dead person? Is that a reasoning? Is that an inference to come to a conclusion to know that you are alive? Correct? These are all the wrong way of inferences we come to understand that we are alive. Long back, I heard this example. I forgot actually from whom I heard it, but it stuck in me. He said, how do you know that you are alive? I am a married person, therefore I am alive. Yeah, what is the connection? How do you know that? How do you know that? What is the connection? Because why will my wife marry a dead person? Since inference is correct. This is how intellect understands everything. So when it comes to something at a very deepest core, you will be stuck only. And it is wonderful to be stuck here. Yeah, it is wonderful to be stuck here. Be stuck in this for a while. Yeah. For a while now, Janma after Janma also be stuck in that. Mukshadva will develop out of it. And you will know something extraordinarily wonderful. Okay, Venkatachalam? Yeah. Yes.
At one place you said microscopic and telescopic. Another place you said microscopic and macroscopic. Are they same or different?
No. Microcosm and macrocosm. Microcosm means individual. Macrocosm means the total. That is different. In the analysis of, how do you do the analysis? Two methods, two formulas. The formula is microscopic means breaking it up into parts. What does microscope do? As in the biology lab. Microscopic as in what does the microscope do? Make you analyze the parts.
So what do we do in microscope?
Microscopic analysis is taking up your individual thing and seeing it with the light of knowledge. Take one experience and see it with the light of knowledge. That is microscope. Okay, I'll give a simple example. Somebody abused you, and you are hurt by that abuse. What is microscopic analysis? Put that abuse, put that hurt under the scanner. Put that hurt of yours under the scanner and analyze it. That is called microscopic analysis. What is telescopic? Same hurt, same insult. How will I see 10 years later? Are you able to follow? Same hurt. How will I see 10 years later? You understand? You understand this microscopic and telescopic analysis gives you an understanding of what the reality of the hurt is, and then it will tell you where all you are exaggerating. This microscopic telescopic analysis will cut to the exaggerations, will trim the exaggerations and give you the knowledge of the reality. Once you understand the knowledge of the reality, once you understand the reality as it is, the value that you give comes down. Are you able to follow? The value that you give comes down. So microscopic means understand the function of the microscope, understand the function of the telescope. What does a microscope do?
You said you put the hurt under the
Scanner, which means what is I am hurt. Why am I hurt? Because that person said that word. What did I contribute for that person to say that word? What did I contribute for that? No, I didn't contribute anything. If I didn't contribute anything, that person is a drunken person. Like, am I going to get affected by the word of a drunken person? These are all microscopic analysis. This is called microscopic analysis. Telescopic means when you are a child, you got hurt. What happened to that hurt now? When you are a child, somebody hurt you in the school. What happened to that hurt now? That's all. Similarly, if you can see it now, that hurt of yours, the intensity of the hurt will reduce. When the intensity of the emotion reduces, your perception of the reality is, you will be more realistic in life. A person who is realistic in life can do proper observation and come and ask these kind of meaningful questions as in the Upanishad. That's the connection.
Okay,
It means you have to cut to the or meaningful question kekanumna first enna vanum emotional irukudadu. If you are turning emotional, you cannot ask meaningful questions. It will be only impulsive, whatever be it. Yeah. I was about to say blabbering, but then you can't say it. Yeah. Are you able to follow? So, in order to ask meaningful questions, you have to cut the emotions. In order to cut the emotions, you have to cut the exaggerations. In order to cut the exaggerations, you need to have this view: telescopic view, microscopic view, or you can call it vertical view, or you can call it horizontal view. Vertical view, horizontal view அப்படின்னா ஒரு lifetimeல one hurt. In your lifetime, hurt. In 8 billion people, one fellow got hurt. What is the big difference? Are you able to follow? That is vertical view and horizontal. You take it as one incident in your lifetime. What is your lifetime? 80 years. 80 years, 1 second, one fellow said, you are a fool. And factually also he said it, right? It's a fact also. Yeah. So he said, you are a fool factually. Adukku, why do you have to get? That is in your lifetime. Another view is one person met with an accident. Is it a headline news? One person met with an accident. Is it headlines? No. I met with an accident. Headlines, correct? Why? Because I met, no? What is the problem? Isn't it? Somebody says, I don't like you. Somebody said, somebody, I don't like. In life it happens, sir. No. I'm telling you, I don't like you. Ram Subramaniam. I'm just joking. I really like you. Supposing I come and tell you, I don't like you. Oh, how can you say that? Why did he say that? What did I do? I hate everybody for that. I hate this person for that person. I condemn that person to be Naraka for that. Let Rakshasa come and devour that person. Why? Because that person said, I don't like you. Yeah, there is nothing in you that can be liked to know what will happen. They say that, like that, something meaningful in you has to be there to like. There is nothing meaningful. This is a horizontal view and vertical view. As a result of which, what happens? You are so objective, you can keep moving in life without getting affected by this pettiness. When you are not affected by this pettiness, you are qualified to do something meaningful. When you are affected by pettiness, you are petty. Isn't it? A petty person will be affected by pettiness, but then they will want to achieve great things. They will want to, everybody wants to achieve great things but they want to let go, but they will not let go of the pettiness. If you want to achieve great things in life, you need to let go of the pettiness. Letting go of the pettiness is not turning emotional impulsive. It's okay. Let that person say, so what? I keep that courage, that conviction. Adella varathuku or preparation. So this analysis is one method. In Bhajagovindam, there is the method he gives, Pratipaksha Bhavana, looking at it from another angle. Another method. So there is telescopic method, there is microscopic method, there is horizontal, there is vertical, there is Pratipaksha Bhavana. Ana yadi use panna maatan, sir. I know all this, but I will not use any one of this, and I will continue to get hurt, and I keep cursing and complaining. That is the condition of the most. Are you able to follow? Are you okay?
So in the analysis பண்ணாதான் நமக்கு exaggeration ஏற்படாது. Exaggeration இல்லாம பண்றதுக்கு பேரு தான் impartial observation. அந்த observationல இந்த வந்து தான் அந்த ஸ்டூடெண்டோட question.
Exactly correct. Exactly. She just said the sequence very correctly. Correct. This analysis will make your observation impartial. Impartial observation means you are objective, and objective person can ask something meaningful. Correct. Any other question is there? In the context of what we discussed today, Viditam, Aviditam, Lenda, Nadu Kekra.
No, it's so long.
Because this too itself is so, is Viditam, Aviditam itself is so, this thing, I don't want to take up some other question and distract the thought flow. That's why I'm just leaving it like that. Rarely we get to discuss things like this. Okay. Very rarely we are discussing, even though this is what we should be discussing week after week, very rarely we get to discuss this. So we'll just leave it at this for a while, and we'll continue next week beyond the opposites.